Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of videos about games and the people who played them. And now, here's your host, Joe Steadman.
Baltic Gap, summer of 44. Wow. 8 scenarios. OCS. This is a war game. Heavy. This is the 11th game in the OCS series. This comes with the new version 4.0 of the rules. And let me tell you more about it. Okay, so here we have the Baltic Gap, summer of 1944 by John Kisner and Hans Mielentz. This is an OCS game. It is covers that summer of 1944, Army Group North, Army Group Center, where the Soviets came through the Baltic Gap there. This is an OCS game, Operational Combat Series. Very complicated. It literally will take you months to play this game. Each turn will take 2 or 3 hours or more. You have to really have somewhere where you can set this game up and take a turn, maybe on a Saturday, and then come back to it in a few weeks, take another turn. Lots of little fiddly rules, tons. There's 50 pages of the basic OCS rules. Then there's 8 more pages of specific rules for the Baltic Gap, and I'll show you a close-up of those. So being an OCS game, Operational Combat Series, you're going to get a copy of the OCS rules. This is version 4, the most recent edition. It's about 48 pages, 50 pages, but so that includes the index and everything. And this is basically going to give you how to play the series of games. See, the OS series has various titles, and then also, and I'll go over some of the basic rules of that in a minute, you're also going to get the Baltic Gap rules, which really are, looks about 8, there's about 8 pages of rules, and the rest of this, 48 pages total, is just different scenarios, orders of battles, and things like that. So with the OCS games, it's a basic sequence of play where I do all my stuff. There may be a chance for you to do something during my turn, and then after my part of the turn, you do all your stuff, and then after we've both done everything, the turn is over. So you have like your aircraft phase, your movement phase, your supply phase, your combat phase, and then cleanup phase, and then it goes right over to your turn, and you do the same thing. So it's traditional style. The game includes a new rewrite of the OCS rules. This is version 4.0, which is really nice because it really it rewords a lot of the rules. It takes out some of the fiddly things. It clarifies some of those rules that people have used the way I've played it, and maybe it wasn't as written, but now it is as written. But so it's got the new OCS rules, the Bible of OCS. Everything's in this game. So for a review of a game of this complexity and scale, really all I can do is tell you that the components are pretty nice. There's a few mistakes on the die cuts for the counters, which is unfortunate. And there's only a few counters that are the wrong size. And the reason that matters is because when you set things up in stacks, you might be able to tell where that headquarters unit is that's cut the wrong size. Here with the 6th SS counter, you can see that it's been cut a little bit smaller than it should have been. Looks like the die cut was off a little bit. Not a big deal to me, but it does. I can understand why it might bother some. But these are your basic cardboard counters, fairly thin, but you know they serve their purpose. All right, here's your basic unit. That would be a comp group. That's that 3 on there. That first 3 would be its combat strength. The second number would be its action rating, and the final number would be its movement allowance. That'd be a mechanized infantry unit. You can see the little wheels on the infantry symbol. Up here you'd have a, let's see here, here's an armor unit, a Tiger unit actually. That would be a, look at the attack rating on that thing, it's an 8, pretty good. Here's a headquarters. That'd be a pretty bad situation for the Soviet if this is actually what it looked like. And the game does include airplanes. There's a Stuka. The maps are real nice, pretty. So you can see the map has lots of helps on it. It's got the turn record track, place for your weather, terrain key, different boxes to keep things, just various helps all across the map. Now they're pretty big maps, all paper maps, and they're going to have to be folded out, and you have to use a piece of plastic on top of them to keep them flat. And you can see here they overlap. So you have to actually line the maps up like this, and then tape it down. So normally what I do is I use tape. Sell special tape that you can use that won't rip the maps, or you can use sticky tag, or just use your piece of plastic to hold it down. The player aids, everything looks fine. Comes with 2 charts and tables, one for each player. It's got everything you're going to need to look up things, attrition, capture, all the different charts that you'll need. The combat table, garage, everything that you'll need. These are just cards. They're not quite cardstock, but they're a little bit thicker than paper. Your 2 standard ASL sized multi-man dice. Ooh, that'd be a not a bad roll. There's quite a few scenarios in the back. There's a big campaign. There's a few smaller scenarios. I'm familiar with the OCS rules, so I was able to set up one of the smaller scenarios and play it through solitaire the first turn. I've looked over the rules and I've talked to a lot of people about the new version here, the Baltic Gap, and it's definitely highly recommended if you're into the OCS. It's a must-have, just for the new rule book. And if you're at all interested in the Summer of 44, what went down up there at the Corlin Pocket, how the Baltic front was able to push through there. So I'd recommend it if that's something you might like. But if you're looking for something for a beginner or something even for an intermediate player, this is not for you. This is OCS. You might want to consider SCS, which is the standard combat series, which is the next lower in complexity, something that you might be able to better understand. The Baltic Gap makes for some interesting wargaming. You know, there's a chance for both sides to be on offense. There's mobility. There's lots of what-if scenarios. So it's fun. But like I said, this is something that is very complex. OCS is not easy. The best way to play OCS is to find someone that already knows the system, or really have an intelligent person who can sit down with you and just hatch it out. But go to a game convention, go to a gamers group, and find someone who plays OCS and just have them teach you the nuts and bolts of the system. It's the OCS rules. You learn these, and then all the games in the OCS series you can pick up. With like I said, this Baltic Gap only has 8 pages of rules technically. So there you go.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.